Welcome. Behind me stands an American icon. In 1982, my father, Bob Plater, described the Norfolk & Western Class J steam locomotive as the finest steam passenger locomotive ever built. She's the pinnacle of steam locomotive technology. She is steel, guts, and glory. She is a symbol of American design, engineering, and craftsmanship. She is the queen of steam. And I'm here to tell you today that yes, we can fire up 611. She has been invited to take part in Norfolk Southern's 21st Century Steam Program. The program operates a series of steam-powered excursions throughout Norfolk Southern's system. She may never have this chance again. Now is her time. You, the fans of 611 around the world, are her hope. In the next few months, we at the Virginia Museum of Transportation need to raise $3.5 million to get her running, and another $1.5 million to keep her running from years to come. If you want to see her thunder across the landscape next year, and that's 12 short months, we need you to help us reach the fundraising goal before October 31st, 2013. I personally appeal to each and every 611 lover out there to assist us in returning 611 to the high iron. I'd like to add a special thank you to Bev Fitzpatrick, Executive Director of the Virginia Museum of Transportation, for forming the study committee. We appreciate the opportunity to dream once again. And I'll turn it over to Bev. Thank you.
Thank you, Preston. Can you think of anybody better to be the chairman of firing up 611 than Bob Plater's son, Preston, who's a great railroader and a consultant, who has engineered this locomotive, fired this locomotive, and I think probably done everything else that you can do on 611. It's a great honor to have him on board, and we thank him and the committee for the incredible job they've done over the last roughly 4 months to get us to this day. The big change between studying and moving is we got to stop dreaming and we got to start doing. This locomotive is the finest locomotive of its kind in the entire world, the most powerful of its class. And 611 fans from all over the world come specifically to the Virginia Museum of Transportation to see 611 and 1218. She's the queen of steam, and nobody across the United States can ever put anything back on the tracks as good as 611. Last year we had visitors from over 50 countries, 200 alone from Great Britain, and every state in the Union come visit Roanoke to stand next to 611 and her massive wheels, touch the bullet nose, and experience this very wonderful locomotive in person. It's a beautiful piece of machinery. Every single one of these visitors told us that they would like to see her running again, her steam rising, her whistle blowing, and watch as she glides through the Blue Ridge and Allegheny Mountains. Over the mountains again is a good theme, and that's what we want her to do. We have been given a once in a lifetime chance to get 611 back on the road, to hear the thunder that comes only from a steam engine of her size. Since we started the study, people all over the world have asked for this. Thousands of them have responded to our survey and become friends on Facebook. So if you've dreamed of riding behind her, of watching her scream past you at up to 100 miles an hour and hearing her whistle blow, now is your time. Don't let her down. She's ready to go. She needs your help to break out of her stall and to breathe again. I do want to thank each of you for taking the time to be here for this occasion. We have had an incredible amount of support from our board and our president, Ken Lanford, and I'd like to ask Ken to come to the podium and turn it over to you now. Thanks. Good morning.
We assembled a team of experts to help study the feasibility of returning 611 to excursion service. They have worked hard, crunched the numbers, traveled across the country to research what it would take to make 611 breathe again. And let me introduce you to the committee. Preston Clater, you want to step forward? Chairman of the Fire Up 611 Committee and Safety Consultant, Mr. Clater was on the 611 locomotive crew during its last excursion runs. And then Sherry George. Ms. George was a volunteer fireman for the 611 and was part of the crew during its last excursion runs. Ron Davis. Ron's president of the Norfolk and Western Historical Society, and Will Harris could not be here. He's a board member of the Virginia Museum of Transportation and president of Norfolk Lumber in Goshen. Then we have Bill Honeycutt, president of the Historical Society of Western Virginia, representing the O. Winston Lake Museum. Scott Lindsay, president of Steam Operations Corporation. Mr. Lindsay was also on the 611 locomotive crew during its last excursion runs. And Jeff Sanders, president of the Roanoke chapter of the National Railroad Historical Society. Jim Stump, an executive search consultant, a Roanoke native, and a railroad enthusiast. And last but not least, Jim Wren, editor of Trains Magazine, is also on the committee but was unable to be here today. The Virginia Museum of Transportation is guided by the board of directors, and I'd like to introduce you to the board members that are present here today. We've got Brad Fitzgerald, if you want to raise your hand. Scott Van Cleve, Scott's here. Doug Tackett, Gene Elliott, Roy Butcher, Todd Markham, Todd's here, and Ellen Stick. All right. I'd also like to thank the fans of the 611 who came out today and who are watching worldwide. Your dream can come true. Please go to fireup611.org to make your donation so we can fire up 611. All right. So we've got a video we're going to show.
This engine is superlative in many ways.
She's the most modern steam locomotive in the world to this day.
If it needed to come into the roundhouse for repairs, the engineer volunteered to come in. That was his baby there.
She can run 100 miles per hour on flat track.
You can actually see her working because you see those side rods.
It was designed to pull a train over the Blue Ridge Mountains.
She was the best of all worlds, compromising on nothing.
Norfolk and Western had these locomotives running over 15,000 miles a month.
It is, amongst those that know trains, a rock star.
Fire up 611.
Fire up 611.
Fire up 611.
She represents luxury, tradition, elegance, style, grace.
It has a tendency to mesmerize you. It makes you wonder how something built by man could be that awesome.
It has more spunk than any steam locomotive its size ever built in the country.
Even when it's not moving, you can hear it breathing because you can hear the fire in the firebox going and the steam and the feed water pumps.
And it's alive. You know, diesel isn't alive like a steam locomotive. This is alive.
I saw it for the first time when I was around 7 years old. My dad worked at the passenger station. He was a mail handler, baggage handler. And he came home one day and said Norfolk and Western had a passenger engine that could go 100 miles an hour. Wow.
One of my earliest childhood memories of riding steam locomotives was riding with an engineer who made me blow the whistle. And he said, "Son, you gotta have marbles in your wrist."
Fire up 611.
Fire up 611.
I also had the opportunity to fire it from 1990 to 1994. And going up the rails, the folks loved seeing this locomotive. Folks would line the tracks and in some cases get in their cars and pace the engine just to see the engine for a longer period of time than to watch it just go off into the sunset.
As a child, I used to stand by the tracks and watch 611 when it was in revenue service, and also rode behind the Jays all the way from Roanoke to Lynchburg, Lynchburg to Norfolk.
Fire up 611!
Whoop, whoop. Fire up 611! This piece of equipment also helped to unify the country and help the transportation industry overcome time and distance. So it's not just a relic, it's a piece of history that shows how the country grew and how it became a true economic power base.
611 has worldwide recognition. People from all over the world have responded to the Fire Up 611 campaign.
She ready, y'all. She needs you to help her. And in order to do that, you got to make some donations. You got to give us a gift to make 611 run again.
We need to put 611 back on the track and bring that history to a new generation.
See her run again, I can't really imagine. Because I've seen smaller steam locomotives, but one of this size and of this magnitude going across the countryside at 60 miles an hour and up, I honestly can't even imagine it.
People don't have a comprehension of what this engine did, can do, and will do.
Everybody wants to see this happen.
Now is the time. Make your donations. Help us get 611 running again.
Fire up 611.
Let's fire up 611.
Throttle up 611, come on, throttle it up!
Let's fire up 611.
It's time the iron horse broke out of its stall.
We appreciate everyone coming out, and let's all make it happen. Thank you.